My fourth time recording this, but I just feel like the messaging is important. I just want anyone else who's retired or aspirational early retiree who's in their 40s, solo and child free, or any part of that to feel like they're not alone. So I'm doing this again. So Charles and I made this. I can't talk because I've already done this three other times. I've run out of things to say. I'm sorry. All right. So these guiding questions came from Charles, which is my AI bot. And it's just talking about the highlights of the month. You know what I should do? Try to record myself on my iPad or something. So I'll have the audio. That would be smart. Maybe I'll do that. Time number 6. Anyway, okay, highlights of the month, small wins were just, uh, my nest egg has gone up, joyful moments, hanging out with my neighbor and catching up with the couple of friends I still have, milestones, nest egg is up, travel. I just got back from my gate one trip uh, with the small group that we spent about 2 weeks in Big Sky Country. I saw Yellowstone, Glacier, Grand Teton National Parks. It was great. It was money well spent. It was very pricey. And cozy everyday moments. Yeah, I love fall. I love waking up to the cooler weather, snuggling under my blankets. And oh, in terms of what I have coming up for travel, I finally booked my Asian cruise, my Noah's Ark cruise. It's going to be about 40 days and 40 nights on a trans-Pacific crossing. And I've been making these little itineraries for each port day, which has been fun. And just being able to prioritize, like, I don't need to do every single thing. But that has turned into a pricey little endeavor. Challenges or surprises that came up, obstacles. I've talked about this a billion times, but it hasn't been recorded. But for me, it's just been some ongoing money anxiety. When I came back from my national parks tour, I came to an email from a family member, which is basically like, this family member has no resources. They're in their 70s. They live in Liberia, so there's no social welfare, anything like that. So that has added to my budget and caused some money anxiety. I sort of thought by continuing to tell people I was early retired, they would get the signal that like I won't have extra money to spend, but that's okay. So yeah, I struggled a little bit with that of like just feeling the obligation, whether it's self-imposed or not, that I now needed to have this come up. So that was both an obstacle and an unexpected event. So I did have to pause and adapt. I had to adapt my retirement budget, which is interesting. So all along, I'd been sort of aligned with the 4% rule, but after finding out about this early retirement calculator, actually from Poverty to Paradise, who got me into YouTubing in the first place, she doesn't know that. But yeah, seeing that I had an opportunity to not die with what I started with, and I could actually spend my money down in a calculated way, it did it did expand my budget a little bit. So I'll show you really quickly. Let's move it over. Okay. So the default fire budget is 40K. 25K was my core expenses, and then I just gonna give myself the 15K for lifestyle, travel, and healthcare, since those are discretionary. But with the early retirement withdrawal calculator, I found you can make a plan to actually have an amount you want left after your retirement. And so that made me see that if I do plan to spend the money down, which is a little anti-fire, I can spend up to $75,000 a year. I just liked having mentally that cushion. That's what I wanted it for, not to actually spend that much. But it turns out, and I think that's what the difference is from having the mental cushion to now having these additional line expenses. It takes away from that mental cushion. Like this felt really good. Felt like FIRE was really going to work. But now my budget's up to 60,000, which is a lot closer to this number than this number. And so that's caused quite a bit of money anxiety pretty much all year. And I wasn't expecting that. So now I've kind of decreased my core expenses just by decreasing my allowance to 24. I now have included sending money home to my line items. So that's at 60. This is already 30. And my travel, which I felt like that was my personal money and I earned the right to spend that much. And so I was okay going over this for sort of these trips that I wasn't going to be doing every year. But it feels a little bit indulgent now, knowing I have these sort of obligations and it's increasing my budget so much. And then this buffer was less, but then I started to feel restricted, and I was like, that's the opposite of financial freedom. So I went ahead and just increased it this to make me feel more comfortable. And then I'm using this found money, it's leftover money I had set aside. Sorry, the train. Leftover money I had set aside for my Cobra payments this year, but since I ended up qualifying for Medicaid, I didn't end up using it. So I'm just going to keep that. So if you actually total this, it's closer to 70,000 than 40 or 60. So that has just been an adjustment for sure. I wasn't planning on coming out of the gate my first year with no income, doubling my budget. Yeah. So I do feel money anxiety. Like any little thing just feels like, oh my gosh, like one more thing I have to think about. In terms of lessons or patterns, I'm on number 3 now. Insights about spending. I realize I do better with a cushion. Routines, mindset. Early retirement life has not been free of money anxiety. I think that's probably the biggest lesson. Um, Coming up with new habits and routines, I do feel a pull. And so I have to sort of think about like, am I just doing this because I need to feel productive or I need to feel like I'm achieving things? Or do I actually want to do it? And then I'm still sort of taking a break from socializing, and I'm glad I've stuck with that. But again, every now and then I'll feel a pull like this is something you used to enjoy, but now it just feels like too much energy with not enough of a return on that energy. Like I don't feel that the energy I expend to attend an event or to socialize increases my level of satisfaction. So this year has been a very low year in terms of social engagement, and I'm surprisingly okay. I think one of the things that I learned was perhaps I was masking because I thought if you're socially active, that means you're not struggling with like the blues or depression, and that may not be true. You could do both of those things can be true. So I felt like I had to perform, like I had to go to a certain number of things to show that like I'm doing okay. But now I don't feel that way anymore. I don't have to do anything I don't want to do. And I can still be okay. Number 4, financially, this month felt stressful. Lots of money related stress, which you think making it to millionaire status, double comma club, you wouldn't have. But boy, was I wrong about that. My spending hasn't changed much. Obviously, I'm going to splash out on my vacations. And I put in another video, the immigrant tax video, how I when I initially was hit with sort of this need, it made me feel like I needed to go back to work or I needed to adjust, say, my travel expenses to accommodate someone else's needs, and that just won't do. So one of the other things I've learned is just when I first retired, I felt like, man, I really made it, and I felt like I needed to help everyone. And that just led to a lot of unnecessary negative feelings. And now, 7 months later, I'm like, these are adults, just like my counselor says. Like, it's not my job to save them. They don't even need saving, I think is probably a better way to say it. And so maybe there's a little bit of pride on my part disguised as helpfulness of like, you need to make the same decisions I make because my life is so amazing, and false. That's all I'll say about that because I already talked about it in the many other videos that didn't record. What's next for the coming month? November should be pretty chill. There's an end of year party I'm opting not to go to. I went last year. It wasn't like oodles of fun. It wasn't not fun, but I just know I don't know. My social battery is just, it's like a rechargeable battery that just doesn't charge anymore. I was able to decrease my mental health meds. I cut down the dose, and so far I've been doing fine. I have a little bit more energy. It doesn't look like it, but I'm not sleeping all day. And I'm just kind of counting down the days. Some of my shows are back on. I like watching Elsbeth on CBS. I like watching the new Matlock. And it looks like there's a new Selling Sunset on Netflix. So that'll be for November. I made those pretzels from this TikTok lady. I've made them twice now. I leaned into some trying to get recipes that I can like quickly make and that are yummy. So those are probably my small experiments. I started taking Chinese online. It's really fun, but since it's no longer challenging, I'm going to probably shelve it, but we'll see. And then, yeah, I'm looking forward actually to December. I have 2 week, my first side to side cruise in the Caribbean. So that'll be really fun. I had a lot of leftover money for my travel budget this year. So I just went ahead and booked those. But yeah, that's what early retirement month 7 is like. And if you can relate to anything, please let me know on the community page. Y'all have a great day.
Wait, wait, wait.